Hello, I'm Aaron Dusk, indie author and now apparently YouTuber as well. Like most of my life choices over the last 4 years, making a YouTube channel was something I've been meaning to do, but I was always afraid to do it. The book has gotten me more comfortable dealing with strangers on the internet, and since I'm about to be jobless, what better time than now, I suppose. I'm about to get into some heavy stuff later in this video, so fair warning. So I have two choices that are within my control while I'm in this state of limbo. I could either throw caution to the wind and make more of these videos, or I can just sit here in my free time letting anxiety and worry eat at me until it eventually kills me. Obviously, since I'm here talking to a recording device, I chose the former. Right now, my YouTube videos are embarrassingly bad, so thank God not many people are watching them yet. As I've mentioned in my last video, quality is going to be lacking for a little while, but I've made entire careers out of not knowing what the fuck I'm doing while forcing myself to learn new things. After all, that's how I became a programmer. Like many of us, I like security, but I also like to be challenged. I don't really like losing my security to take up a challenge, but sometimes it's the only way to move forward. There's a guy named Max Miller who's arguably one of my favorite YouTubers. He has a channel called Tasting History, so go watch him if you find, watching cooking shows while learning about history as cathartic as I do. So like any normal person, absolutely enthralled by a YouTube personality, I looked up his history and discovered how he got into content creation, which was eerily similar to what I'm going through right now, since he was laid off in his midlife, and which gave him the freedom to basically start his own channel. So I'm hoping that I too can one day create something that will gain as much traction. And speaking of gaining traction, let's get into the real topic of today's video. Why did I choose to write what I do? So I'm not talking about like what I write as far as a genre, like fantasy, sci-fi, or romance. I mean monster fucking, which I guess would be a subgenre, not actually a genre. Hold on, let me Google monster fucking and see what that is exactly. What genre is monster fucking? Monster erotica, also known as monster porn or cryptozoological erotica, is a subgenre of erotic horror that involves sexual encounters between humans and monsters. Is what I write erotic horror? I don't think so. Hold on, let me look up something else. Monster fucking is a subgenre of Xeno. What the fuck is Xeno? Hold on. What is Xeno? Xenophobic, Xenon, Xenofiction. What is Xenofiction? Xenofiction. Fictional stories about non-humans, specifically extraterrestrials. I guess, yeah. I mean, Amuli's kind of an extraterrestrial. He's an alien from another planet. He just happens to be a hot werewolf-looking guy. So, all right. Yeah, that's monster fucking. So yeah, obviously to be an author, you don't have to stick to one thing, but sometimes that one thing is something we're unusually passionate about. I've always been intrigued by monster-human or alien-human friendships and relationships. That's just something that I've always been into since I was a kid. So I brought this author up before, Andy Weir. Like his book, The Martian, it was okay. I mean, granted, the main character spent most of his time growing potatoes, but it was interesting enough that I kept going. However, Project Hail Mary was the one that had me completely invested, especially the moment Rocky, who was an alien, appeared in the story. The interaction between the two characters as they learned about each other kept me turning the pages. Or in my case, listening, because driving through Texas without something to take your mind off of how ugly and huge the state is absolutely sucks. So yeah, I listened to the audiobook the entire time. Obviously, with how different the characters were from each other physically, there could be nothing more than friendship. And I was fine with that. Because not every alien, beast man, or cryptid needs to go balls deep in a horny, confused human. They don't need to, but I'm gonna make them do it anyways, because I'm their God, and they will. Good Lord, I just had a mini heart attack there. I thought my window was open. Oh God, yeah, that's the last thing I need. Okay, anyways, I mentioned in an earlier video that it was one story in particular that got me interested in writing this stuff. And as with all supervillain origin stories, it all started with Twilight. My mother, like all middle-aged women and preteen girls at the time, absolutely loved the book. Okay, so slightly off topic here, but it's kind of on topic as well. Anyways, question to the older millennials. Do you guys remember Jinko jeans? They were those huge skirt-like jeans that would drag on the ground and sop up every puddle after it would rain. And I lived in Florida, so that was like every afternoon. Or remember everyone stenciling the Metallica logo in their army green JanSport backpacks? And we all wore those nylon jogging pants to gym that made loud swishing noises? I just made myself so nostalgic that I forgot what I was talking about. That shit was comfortable, but the pictures were embarrassing as fuck. That's kind of the feeling a lot of younger millennials and Gen Z have when they remember Twilight. It was this fad no one wants to admit they were part of because every character low-key sucked ass. Even the relationships were just Stephenie Meyer's cuck fantasy put to paper. Everyone seemed to be under this weird spell, like they knew the story was awful, but they couldn't stop reading it. Okay, I admit right now I'm calling this a bad story because it kind of is. But I suppose if my opinion actually mattered and she heard this, Stephenie can just wipe away her tears with a few $100 bills as she lounges by the pool in her multi-million-dollar mansion, because that shitty book made fucking bank, okay? And the weirdest thing was, each book got more and more unhinged as she wrote them. Like she was just testing the waters to see what she could get away with. If the movie Orgasmo taught me anything, it's that Mormons are probably secretly the kinkiest, most sexually depraved people on this planet. I just have no way of proving that yet. You hear that, Brandon Sanderson? I am going to find the kink subtext written in your books. I'm going to find it. It's in there somewhere. I just have to look hard enough. Anyway, this was a very long tangent. So back to my mother. I loved her dearly despite the mortal sin she would soon commit. She left her copies of the Twilight and New Moon in my car because, you know, I like werewolves and vampires and paranormal stuff, which admittedly, I just recovered from my Buffy, Charmed, and Roswell phase. I'm just aging myself with every word in this video, aren't I? So, having known nothing about the author or her work, I decided that night I'd start reading it. It didn't start out too bad, aside from her opening the book with every cliche imaginable. But then I started noticing the army of M-dashes and ellipses. God damn. Every sentence seemed to have either an M-dash or an ellipse in it. So eventually the character's voice in my head just had this permanent upward inflection, like she was unsure and kind of stupid, which turned out to be the main character's main trait, so mission accomplished, I guess. As I read more of the story, I had to keep forcing myself to continue. I felt absolutely nothing for Bella by this point. In fact, I remember imagining that she was this emo teenage girl rolling her eyes constantly at everything, and anvils would just start to fall on her head like she was in a Steamboat Willie cartoon. Every time she said something annoying or stupid, another anvil would just rain from the sky. It was the only way I could get through as much of the book as I did. I don't even think I got halfway before I eventually stopped. And then I saw something that infuriated me even more. The book was getting its own movie. I was so pissed off that I called my mother and just bitched about it for a solid hour. And then that's when she said something that altered the course of history forever. She said, "Christ, if you hate it that much, then write your own book." Right now, I just realized that it wasn't Twilight that made me angry enough to write all those years ago. It was my mother. So she's the one you guys should thank for all the depravity I've written over the years for you. Sadly, though, she wouldn't live to see me publish my first book. In fact, her illness and eventual death would stifle any creativity I had left, and I wouldn't write anything for another 10 years. And to be honest, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to write anything worthwhile in my 20s. I just wasn't. But when I was ready, I wrote something that I still love to this day, despite all of its flaws. Not only did I love it, but a lot of other people loved it as well. And now I'm going to start ranting, because no one, it seems, has the balls to publish real stories in this subgenre. It's either this weird Omegaverse travesty, or it's safe, like Wolfsong was. But no one out there, or at least no one well-known in publishing, is writing gay monster romance. Sure, we have shit movies like Way of Water, but that's not what we want. We know what we want, what we really, really want. Straight women have an entire buffet of every single romance and erotica imaginable, from reverse harems to actual monster erotica. But what do gay men have? Well, we have ABO on AO3, written by teeny bopper outcasts and 20-something-year-old women with gay man fetishes. Oh, don't get mad at me. Where's the lie? We're either getting jokingly rammed by the alpha in some Chuck Tingle book or having torture porn written about us as if we haven't yet escaped the 5-decade-long tragic gay trope. I am tired of reading gay relationship stereotype to appease hetero women audiences. And also, all the what the actual fuck body horror is the Omegaverse. I can't with this shit. I know there are gay men out there, some of who are in my Discord, that absolutely love this trope. I do not. I find normal pregnancy revolting, and impreg just adds yet another disturbing layer to it all. I guess, despite all the bitching, I finally got tired of not finding what I wanted to read, because it doesn't really exist. And if it does, it's subpar writing on some furry website. If you can even find them buried beneath all the piles of porn. No, I'm not gonna rip on porn as if it's a bad thing. Yeah, sometimes porn is great, but most of the time, I wanna feel something deeper when I read. I want complex and lovable characters. I want an actual story I can lose myself in. And I want that human main character to end up with a huge, hot monster. Is that too much to ask? And now for the heavy things. You know, the world sucks in so many ways. We're bombarded almost daily with the worst humanity has to offer. We're brainwashed into endlessly consuming garbage we don't need or want. We're forced to do things that go against our very nature in order to make it in a society that cannibalizes itself as it spirals to new lows. We're force-fed news that those in control want us to see. We're tricked into eating and drinking poison while paying exorbitant amounts of money for more poison to alleviate the symptoms caused. We're told we will own nothing and we'll be happy, but only half of that is really true. The economy is crumbling and people can't find work, but we're told everything is fine. Everything's working as intended. We all know that everything has gone to shit, and it's why we want to escape it. It's why we escape into movies and video games, TV shows, and even books. We've been doing this for a very long time. I'm not going to pretend like 2024 is some kind of post-apocalyptic wasteland. Humanity has been through so much worse. But we always tried to find ways to lose ourselves, you know, to kind of get rid of reality for a little bit. Hell, religion is based on that alone. But coming back into this decade, as each form of media devolves into this AI-driven, subscription-based, fake ideological gray goo, I want my books to be that escape. I want people to feel a little less hollowed out as they watch the beaten corpse of yet another beloved story or franchise fall victim to more pandering corporations. So with all that said, that's why I write what I do. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and share it with others. If you want to read my books, the link will be in the description below. And if you've read my books, please make sure to leave a review on Goodreads or something and spread the word. And as always, I'll see you next time.